Hello, my name is Felicity, and I am an amateur artist, and I'm going to show you how to draw fat people. But before I start, I would like to let you know that fat is not an insult, so shut the fuck up, because I know what I'm talking about. It's an adjective, not an insult. So don't, get mad at me saying, why are you calling Rose Quarts fat? She's not fat. Yes, she is, and that's okay. This whole entire video is for beginner artists, like, who cannot draw fat people at all. Because I'm not a very good artist, but I'm gonna help you. So, let's rewind to Felicity's middle school years, and I'm gonna show you how I drew people back then. Very big heads, very large heads, and then this. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a show that has been released, and I'm not sure how it's doing financially. I'm not sure how everything's going. Personally, I fucking hate it, and it's like my least favorite show on Cartoon Network. It's called Teen Titans Go. And they draw their characters very simply. But one thing that bothers me about the characters is this, that they do. They do this. Wow. Not this exactly. They do what I did in middle school. Their art is like my art in middle school. This is something that I see a lot in cartoons. The inevitable thigh gap. The dreaded inevitable thigh gap. It's just easy, I guess. Noodle legs are easy to draw. Adventure Time does this a lot. It's okay. But this is not okay. This right here. So, there is no possible way that organs can fit inside of this. So that's why we don't do that. Because, of course, art styles, it's important to be individual or whatever the fuck. But organs are also important to characters. So I would advise you not to do that. Okay, so let's move on. Instead of sketching out something like this with the uniboob and the zero organ zone, I'm going to show you how to do something simple yet accurate. I like cartoons because I like simple art. But I also like it when artists manage to be creative enough to shove reality into simplistic art. Rebecca Sugar manages to do this beautifully. My proportions are subpar, doesn't matter. When you're a cartoonist, proportions aren't everything. Because sometimes they choose to make the heads bigger for more space on the face for expression. So I'm going to draw a thinner character from Steven Universe named Pearl, my favorite gem, I confess. She's very thin. And she's very undersexualized, which means her boobs are small. And her hips are small, and everything about her is very, very thin. I like drawing her. She's fun to draw. Okay, so regardless of your character, you need to draw their rib cage, because it's a reference point. Head, rib cage, hips are the three biggest parts of the person. I'm going to draw those in red. So, it's not terribly, important that you get the rib cage completely right. It would just help that it's sort of okay. Okay, so the reason why the head is important is because that's where you start. That is your outlet for this whole entire drawing. It tells you where the neck is going to go. It tells you where the shoulders are going to go. With thin people, the shoulders of the head are very, very, not broad at all. Because shoulders make characters look larger. They take up more space. Shoulders are something that you cannot change about your character, about yourself as a person, because it's bones. She's thin, so it's just going to go directly from ribs to hips. straight line. I'm going to use the noodle legs in this situation because Sugar uses noodle legs on Pearl. Or not noodle legs, but they're more like bananas. They're very simple. Pearl has simple legs. With girls, thick girls in the crotch area have Ys, like so. Thin girls in the crotch area have Ts, like so. The more there is the more junk there is in the trunk, the more upwards the crotch is going to be facing. So let's get out of crotch area. So Pearl has very thin legs, so she has a T and a thigh gap, canonically. Okay. Arms are also very important with the thickness of a character. So this is our skeleton for Pearl. Now let's draw a skeleton for Rose Quartz. Don't be afraid to make your shoulders huge. This is how I like to remember fat people broad shoulders. This is a medium-sized head, and then there are two invisible smaller heads beside it that define the thickness of the shoulders. Just a silly little thing to remember. And then I like trapezoids to start the rib cage, and then later define it better. Now, your character that is fat does not necessarily have to have big hips. I have drawn myself with very broad shoulders, fair rolls, and then the noodle legs. Because you can draw thick characters with very thin legs. I've seen different ways of drawing thick characters. This is a way that is very aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Drawing your character with large hips is very well liked. She's crooked. So, if it's your first time drawing a fat character, I would recommend drawing large hips. Okay, we'll get to the arms in a second. The arms are sort of hard. So, how I like to make the ribs, or the shoulders and the ribs, slightly smaller than the pelvis with curves. Because the attractiveness is smaller to larger than smaller again. Like a pear. A pear-shaped woman. So, it could be equal. You could have equal shoulders and hips, but for the sake of aesthetic, I'm going to make her shoulders and ribs slightly smaller. Okay. Now what you can do is extend down past the rib cage and then connect if you want it to be very, very simple. Or you can do something that I like to do that accentuates the rolls on a large woman. I have a method called the Hot Pocket method. It's very fun, it's very cute, easy to remember. Okay, so, sorry, I like drawing hair, it's very fun. What you're going to want to do is draw a Hot Pocket. If you don't know what that is, it just looks like a rectangle. They're very delicious, very tasty. They sometimes have pepperonis and cheese in them. They're like little tiny calzones, little pizzas. Okay, so based on our Hot Pocket, you're going to add divots into the side of it because this is actually, surprise, it's not a Hot Pocket, it's a tummy. Okay? It still sort of looks like a Hot Pocket, but now it looks a little more like a burrito, like a yummy burrito that has, like, I don't know, meat coming out of the side. Okay. So, you're going to want to cut off the top of your Hot Pocket and add boobs. And if you make them large, then it'll make your character look thinner. If you make them closer together and smaller, it'll make your character look fatter. Okay, so this is good for when you're drawing fat characters in bikinis. Now, thighs are also a big part of how fat your character looks. If your hips and thighs are very round and thick, then your character will look more aesthetically attractive. And if you don't really have like feet, they're more like just stubs, which is a popular artistic decision now, I guess. It will look, I guess, cuter. Some people think it looks cuter. I mean, it does look cute, but, you know, I think it's a little lazy. Do what you want. This is a good method. So, every other part besides the Hot Pocket defines how thick the person actually is. So I like to draw Rose Quartz the Hot Pocket way when I draw her without something covering her tummy because it's cute. It shows off her tummy. But when I'm drawing her like in her dress, I like doing this method better because it's more efficient. It looks like she's ready to kick someone's ass. Like she wouldn't go kicking someone's ass in a crop top and shorts. She would do it in her standard battle attire, which for some reason is a dress. If she's gonna go kick someone's ass, her body's not gonna look as fat accentuated because honestly, speaking from personal experience, fat gets in the way with exercise. Because it jiggles. Even though it's cute when it jiggles and it gets in the way. So she would be wearing like armor or something that would make her seem less rolly and more bad. So I'm gonna say she's wearing a chest plate and big spiky pink armor. I love Rose Quartz so much. Pearl is actually my favorite gem, but Rose is a close second. And I like that they're gay or whatever. You should draw her. You should draw her fat. It's fun. It's fun to draw fat people, actually. I love drawing fat people because I'm not thin, so it's fun to relate to my characters. The more space your characters take up, the more interesting it's going to be, and the more fun it's going to be to draw them. So this is for you. If you're a beginning artist, if you can't draw fat characters very well, if you're tired of people saying, "Hey, stop drawing Rose skinny," then you can learn. It's fun. All right. Bye, bitches.
Begin to be half of what you think of me. I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love. When I see the way you act, wondering when I'm coming back, I could do about anything. I could even learn how to love like you. I think you're so good, and I'm nothing like you.